Good morning, welcome to another daily reflection for the 28th of April, Wednesday morning. Innocent until proven guilty is a biblical concept. The incredible thing about God and the scriptures is his passion for justice for the victim, but also his passion for due process of the perpetrator. As you read through the Old Testament, you will notice there were lots of crimes and actions, some of which would appear petty in our modern culture, in our modern eyes, that were labelled as capital crimes, crimes that you could be put to death for. The irony is that the death penalty was almost never used in Israel because God put the bar so high for a capital conviction that it was almost impossible to get a capital conviction. Two independent witnesses had to see you do the act of whatever it was that you were accused of doing. How often do you have two independent witnesses who saw with their own eyes the moment someone killed another person? Or you had two independent witnesses who saw with their own eyes the moment two people committed adultery? Or two independent witnesses who saw with their own eyes somebody stealing something? One eyewitness was not enough to get a conviction for a capital crime. You had to have two independent eyewitnesses, and if you were found to be lying, you would then incur the penalty that the person you were testifying against, death. So perhaps the most interesting aspect of God's justice is seen in the cities of refuge, which were set up throughout Israel. 6 cities were designated as cities of refuge. And these cities were cities you could flee to if you accidentally caused another person's death or you were accused of a crime. You could flee to one of these cities, state your case to the elders at the gate, and then be admitted to the city under protection. The city would house, feed, and find work for you. And the person was protected from the blood avenger, the family who was seeking to get revenge for either their deceased relative or for the crime that you've been accused of. Now, God knew something, of course. God knew something about our human nature. Because when we are wronged, when we're angry, when we are emotionally charged, we do things and say things which are damaging. We confuse retribution for justice. We confuse retaliation for fairness. If we are slapped in the face, we want to punch someone back. We want to magnify and increase the hurt we've experienced. To repay back the hurt that we've had is not enough. We want to magnify it and make the other person pay more. And the cities of refuge prevented this. Once a person had sought refuge in a city of refuge, an investigation was started, and an investigation was carried out to see what had happened and whether the death or the injury or the crime was truly accidental and not deliberate. Remember the bar. 2 independent witnesses had to testify. And if found that the death penalty or injury was accidental, or that there was not 2 witnesses, the person who was accused had to remain in the city of refuge until the death of the high priest. So the person doesn't get away with the death or the injury completely. They're effectively imprisoned for an undetermined time because nobody knew how long the high priest would live. They were confined to that city, possibly away from family, away from friends, until the death of the high priest. But why until the death of the high priest? When the high priest died, the family of the deceased, or the family that had the crime committed against them, would regard the death of the high priest as a substitute for the death of the perpetrator. Does that remind you of something? Our perfect high priest dying for us as a substitute. God's justice is amazing, it's perfect, and we should follow it, follow the scriptures in how he deals with both a victim and the perpetrator. May God bless you today. May his face shine upon you. May you know the love of Christ in your life today. Amen.